I was scrolling through my phone the other day when this article caught my eye. The headline reads, "The streaming wars are over, and it's time for media to figure out what's next." I read through the piece to the author's conclusion, which is that gaming is the next place media companies will turn their attention to try to scour for subscribers and profits. But it also got both John and I discussing whether or not the streaming wars are truly over. Because if they are, that would imply that streaming is dead.
Yeah, and we absolutely don't think it is, but it is changing. So in this video, we're going to cover 5 changes in the streaming space that show that streaming is alive and well, albeit morphing as it matures. Starting with our first change, higher prices and lower expenses. Never forget that streaming services are backed by major media conglomerates. When streaming was new and during the wars of the past few years, they were in a race to acquire subscribers.
While they were investing money to attract subscribers, they spent a ton of money creating content.
And they offered that content at a relatively affordable price. This was all designed to lure people away from cable, and it worked. As this graph shows, streaming has risen steadily since 2015. At the end of 2022, 53% of Americans stream TV as opposed to getting it through cable or satellite services.
And there's no wonder why. The average cable bill is much more expensive than even premium live TV streaming services like YouTube TV and Hulu Live. We regularly hear from viewers telling us they've switched from cable to a premium streaming service and have saved $100 or more each month.
However, now that subscriber numbers are plateauing, streaming services are being pressed by investors and shareholders to make their platforms profitable.
This plateauing isn't a sign that streaming is dead, but rather that it has grown up. Streaming has entered a new phase, and rising prices and reduced expenses are, unfortunately, a side effect of that.
We talked about this on a recent live stream, but a look at recent subscriber numbers reveals that Disney Plus lost more than 4 million subscribers during the first quarter of 2023. Much of that was in India and due to losing streaming rights for cricket, but even in North America it lost 600,000 subscribers.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, John. And if you didn't know already, we're live streaming on Fridays now at noon Central Time, so make sure to tune into that and subscribe to our channel on YouTube if you haven't already. Now back to user numbers. In contrast, Netflix added 1.75 million subscribers, WBD added 1.6, Peacock added 2 million, and Paramount Plus added 4.1 million. But streaming services are less concerned with subscriber growth now. Instead, now that they're maturing, they're focused on profitability.
For instance, though Netflix gained subscribers, it plans to slash spending by $300 million this year. Unfortunately, that likely means less content or lower quality content. And it shows again, like Nicole said, streaming services are focused on becoming profitable now.
And one of the best ways for them to do that is through advertising revenue. That's why our second change shows that streaming is alive and well, but changing in its movement towards free ad-supported streaming services. They are gaining lots of momentum right now. Services like Tubi and Pluto for general entertainment, Haystack News for news, and device-oriented fast platforms like the Roku channel are all growing like gangbusters by offering free content littered with ads. Tubi grew to 64 million active users, which is up from 51 million a year ago. Total viewing time is up 44% year over year as well. Pluto TV, which is owned by Paramount, has the most users right now of any FAST service, with more than 80 million monthly active users around the world. Streaming hours were up 35% during the first quarter of 2023.
In a way, it's the kind of TV we grew up with in the 80s and 90s when there was no streaming. We sometimes like to joke with our children that they have it easy because they grew up with Netflix and the ability to watch their shows with no interruptions, one episode after another.
Fast channels are going to continue to grow. With companies like WBD moving popular HBO shows to the Roku channel, they can make money on distribution and ad revenue. So can Disney and all the others by charging an even higher premium for ad-free content and then making even more money off people who opt for an ad-supported or free platform.
Since Dove sponsored soap operas in the early days of radio, advertising has always paid for content. We can be bothered by it, or we can accept it and try to make the best use of our streaming dollars.
Yep, everyone's getting into the fast game, and cord cutters are increasingly turning to them as they cut down the number of paid platforms they subscribe to. In addition to free services, another sea change we're seeing that shows signs of maturity for the streaming industry is more consolidation and bundling.
Paramount Plus recently made this move by bringing Showtime into its premium plan, and Disney may be moving toward the same thing by announcing a single sign-on experience later this year for Hulu and Disney Plus.
As we shared in our Disney Plus price hike video, subscribers of both services will be able to access Hulu from Disney Plus later this year. Disney already offers a bundle that includes the two services, as well as a bundle that also includes ESPN Plus.
Yeah, we discussed that on our live stream as well, which we're running now on Fridays at noon Central, but we certainly saw this trend with Warner Bros. Discovery creating HBO Max and now simply Max. While it's keeping Discovery Plus as a separate streaming app, it's also bringing over popular Discovery content onto the new Max platform, which will also house content from HBO and the Warner Brothers movie library.
Yeah, consolidation is a tactic to cut costs and achieve profitability generally in business. So again, rather than a sign that streaming is dead, it's no surprise to see it here as a sign of market maturity. Another change we see more of coming this year and down the road is in-app shopping.
When a company is in acquisition mode, it may use low prices to attract users. Once it has those users, in addition to raising prices, it needs more ways to generate revenue. In-app shopping is one of those ways that streaming services are using to try to generate more cash. For at least 6 months now, Disney Plus has offered the ability to snag early access to merch through its platform. The app makes it easy to scan a QR code after a popular show like The Mandalorian and shop for merch featuring the show's characters.
Amazon has long done something similar, and Netflix has an online store where you can purchase merch from popular franchises like Stranger Things. We're going to see more of this from more streaming services. Again, not because they're dying, but because it's a way to make more money from existing customers on channels they own, their own streaming apps.
Now let's move on to a final change that shows not the death of streaming, but rather its evolution: gaming. Besides cutting costs, streaming services need to grow. Gaming seems like a likely candidate. Netflix launched a mobile gaming service. Comcast looked into buying EA. Microsoft is trying to acquire Activision.
The author of that first article I mentioned thinks the next set of streaming wars will be fought over control of gaming, and they may be right. More than half of the U.S. population spends time gaming. People are spending more and more time gaming. Most people play games for 2 to 4 hours at a time, with millennials playing longer than Gen Z. And advertisers want to be where their target audiences are. In-game advertising is up to nearly $27 billion globally. It's big business. And as streaming services like Netflix blend with gaming, you can bet that media companies will look to do the same.
And when you have gaming consoles like PlayStation and Xbox also offering streaming apps on their platforms, the connection becomes even stickier.
It's a good bet that we will see more investment and crossover as the months roll on. And that's what we see on the horizon. But what do you think? What changes do you see coming to streaming this year? Do you think it's dead or simply maturing like we do? Let us know in the comments below. And if you haven't already, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you can get all our latest news and reviews when they drop.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in our next video.